I'm going to tell you a little story about how things can go wrong very quickly while traveling with firearms. For those that don't know, I just got back from a big match back in Tennessee where I flew a rifle case, a box of, a whole case of ammo, and a bunch of other supplies out there. Among my gun supplies was an extra bolt that looked, in fact, it's this exact one. I have my primary bolt. I also have extra triggers, things like that, just for emergencies. And they all get packed away properly. And at the end of the match, everything gets put back into the boxes. However, some things can get missed. And here's a great example of what can happen. So we are coming back through security. And for those that are familiar, you've got your little rows where you go through with your bags and stuff and little conveyor belts like this. And it's pretty normal for my bag to get stopped at any given time when it's going through the little, little x-ray boxes that are in the middle here. So as my bag's going through, I go walking down the middle and I get right about there and I clear the little, scan thing, and I'm waiting for my bag, and there's a TSA agent standing next to me, and I jokingly said to her, "It's going to be a minute, my bag always gets stopped." And she goes, "Oh, why is that?" And I said, "Well, I'm a competitive shooter. We shoot 1,000-yard, a little over half a mile matches, and I'm explaining, our group sizes. And, she's super cool. This is Tennessee, pretty gun-friendly state. And, I said, I've got, a spotting scope. I've got some, other stuff, cleaning kit stuff and whatnot in the bag. It always gets stopped. It's never a problem. I'm just used to it. So I always make sure I get here early." So she kind of laughingly says, "Oh, okay." And sure enough, while we're talking, security guard right over here pulls my bag and starts walking towards me, pointing at me saying, "Is this your bag?" And I said, "Yeah, I'm used to this. It's fine." And set up over on the side is a little station where they put your bag down. And you stand here. They have little footprints you stand on so that you're in a designated area. They have a little screen that has the picture that was on the x-ray here. And as the guy is walking over, I hear the words that you never want to hear. "Do you have any gun parts in your bag?" And I said, "No." And he goes, "It looks like there is a bolt in your bag." And I said, "There's no way. It's all in my gun case." And he goes, "I don't think so." At which point my heart absolutely sank. So as he's walking over with my bag, he goes, "Yeah, man, I'm pretty sure you've got a bolt in your bag." And oh man. So he sets my bag up on this counter. And while he's doing that, there's a screen that has a picture of the x-ray. And you can see like here's my backpack. And you can see, different things throughout the backpack. And bright as day, this is all I see over in the corner, is my freaking bolt. Loud as, just unbelievably nerve-wracking. So the guy reaches in, and I happen to have it in a pouch that looks like this. And, he pulls it out and he goes, "This is your bolt." And I go, "Yep, it sure is." And he goes, "We have to file a report, and we may have to get the police involved because we have very little designation between this, or differentiation between this and a loaded firearm, because anything firearm related that is part of a gun is a gun in our eyes." And and he was super nice. Like, I got to give TSA so much credit because these guys were so friendly and so nice about what they did. So we pull out the bolt. He's holding it. He goes, "Look, I'm just telling you what the protocol is." My buddy's standing next to me, just, shaking his head like, "What are we going to do?" And I had told him, "Look, if you need to go, if this gets bad, just go. I'll find a way home. Don't worry about it." He goes, "No, I'll hang out and, let's see what happens." And so the guy says, "Tell us why you're here," or something like, I can't remember exactly, but he says, "Tell us why you're here," or something. I explained that we were here for a match and, my other gear, and, and they saw what else was in my bag. I had all kinds of stuff if you've watched my other videos. And I said, just oversight. I totally forgot. I carry an extra bolt, extra trigger in my backpacks in case there's a problem. And clearly I forgot to put it back in my gun case. So he goes, well, we got to go get a supervisor. They'll determine what we need to do. So I'm sitting there, maybe 5 minutes. They come back with a supervisor. And again, like every level of TSA at this airport was unbelievably friendly. So if you've never been to Nashville, I will tell you, they were incredible guys to deal with. So he comes back to me and he goes, hey, here's the deal. We recognize that you are not trying to smuggle a firearm on the gun on the plane. Yes, this is designated as a firearm or firearm part. It is illegal to bring on a plane or pass security. However, we do not feel it's necessary to involve Nashville PD in this particular case, to which I said, thank you. And they said, we understand what happened and occurred, and it's not something, I guess they've got obviously some leeway in terms of where they determine something is egregious enough to warrant police involvement. So I did have to help them fill out, and I didn't really have to fill it out, but I have to provide some information for a TSA report, name, address, phone number, where I'm going, where I'm coming, all that kind of stuff. Again, super nice about it. So then I said, well, what do I do with this? and at this point, it's in my bag like this, and he goes, you've got a couple options. One is you leave it with us, we dispose of it, and you get on the plane. And I said, well, that's not going to happen. And, my buddy chimed in, same thing, like, we need to find another solution. All my bags had been checked already, and there was no way that I could really check my backpack. I mean, I guess worst case scenario, my backpack could have been checked, but it was not packed in a way that it would have survived well going through checked baggage. And it just so happened by dumb luck that my buddy had won this awesome Vortex spotting scope stand or gun stand. It's just a giant tripod. And big carbon fiber thing is like 18, 20 inches long, nice zip-up case. He goes, here, I was going to carry this on so I didn't have to pay for checked baggage. Take this with you, put your bolt inside that case, wrap it up in a jacket, and just send it as checked baggage. And I was like, oh, that's great. So the TSA guy, it was actually pretty funny. So they can't just walk you back past. Let me see if I can show you here. So I'm all the way, like, here's the ticketing counters, and then here's security to come over this way, and then all the terminal, the gates and stuff are here. So I go through security, get stopped. Well, they have to walk me all the way through the terminal and kick me back out over on this side, and then I come back to Alaska. And I come up to the guy, I'm like, hey, remember me? And he's like, yeah, how's it going? Why are you back? And I said, well, unfortunately I had an item that couldn't go through security. Can you please get one of my checked bags? I don't care which one it is. Any of the, the gun, my big bag, any of it, like I can fit the bolt in. And he's like, well, it's not that easy. And I said, okay. He goes, it may take some time. I don't know if I can do it. We can't always do it. Really setting me up for a life of disappointment here. So he goes, however, I see you've got a bag. And I said, yeah. He goes, you want to check that? And I'm like, well, how much? And he goes, look, man, you'd be doing me a favor by checking that bag. I'm just going to waive the bag fee. It looks like you've been through enough today. He goes, I'm just going to waive your check bag on it, and send it through. And I just hope you have a good flight. And I was like, man, like, the whole airport was so incredible, but that wasn't the end of it. Now, for anybody that's flown with guns, you know that when you show up to the ticketing counter, you basically declare that you have a firearm. There's a little thing you fill out. You put your name, number, stuff like that. And within about 15 or 20 minutes, they are supposed to call you if there is some kind of a problem that requires you to come and open the gun cases. Now, best as anybody can decipher the TSA rules or laws or whatever it is, guns are the only thing that are supposed to have a non-TSA lock on them. And as such, they are supposed to have you open the case. They do an inspection and then you close and lock it because it's a firearm. Well, from the time we checked in my security incident to the time that we were getting ready to board, it was almost an hour and a half. I don't remember, maybe almost 2 hours. So at this point, after the day we'd had, we were over at the bar, we're getting something to eat and drink, we're waiting to board, and literally 15 minutes before we're ready to board, the third guy that's with us calls me and goes, hey man, they're trying to find you at the boarding gate. And I'm like, oh, so I go running off. The guy that I'm with doesn't even know what's going on. I'm like, dude, I gotta go. And I just took off. So I get to the gate, and there's a worker, not like TSA or anything, just a normal gate worker, and he goes, "Hey, I need a key to your gun lock." And I go, "No." And he goes, "Well, Homeland Security needs in it because they need to inspect it, and it's not a TSA lock." And I said, "I know, because it's not allowed to be a TSA lock." And he says, "Well, we need the key." And I said, "Look, I'm not comfortable. Escort me back there. I'm happy to unlock it. Like, I got nothing to hide. I'm just not comfortable with TSA being in charge of my gun if I'm not there, because my understanding is that's not how it's supposed to work." And he goes, "Look, I've worked in LA. In LA, we deal with 2 or 3 guns a day. Here in Nashville, we deal with 2 or 3 guns per flight. So they just have a different procedure here. You're not going back there. Like, I can just tell you," like, he was super nice. Again, unbelievably friendly airport. He goes, "Look, I can just tell you, you're not going back there." So here I am waiting at my gate, and my plane is sitting here. So here's my wonderful plane that looks like Patrick Star, and here's me, and what choice have I have, right? So my buddy's over here across the hall having his drink, and he's waiting. My other buddy's in the terminal, and I'm standing here, and you're kind of left in a no-win situation, right? Like, they should know the rules. I'm an armchair quarterback reading the rules, trying to interpret them. You're left feeling a little uncomfortable. And so ultimately I was like, well, look, I need to get on the plane and my gun needs to be there. So if this is what needs to happen. And he goes, "Look, I'll be there and I'll make sure that it gets back on the plane." And I'm like, okay. So I hand him my key, and, my brain at this point was just done, just fried. So he takes off down the gangway to go take care of it. And then I thought, oh no, I don't even know what that guy's name was. I didn't think to ask. His badge wasn't like out. I kind of remember looking, but I didn't ask because then we got talking about something else. And so he takes off, and there's like literally 10 minutes at this point before we're boarding. So, this was me for about 10 minutes, right? Just walking laps, pacing it off. My buddy finally comes over. We're standing together. Then I realize I got to go to the bathroom. Well, what if I have to go to the bathroom and then that guy comes back and there's a problem and they need me? So my buddy was there at that point. He goes, "Look, just run real quick. Bathroom's around the corner. I'll let them know that you're coming right back." So, all right, that's out of the way. So right before boarding, like an angel coming out of the light, here comes this guy walking towards me. He comes up and he goes, "All right, here's your key, man." And I'm like, "Are we good?" He's like, "Oh, yeah, you're good. Like, no problem." And I'm like, "Okay, that's easy for you to say." So we start talking, and the guy was really cool. He goes, "Hey, I'm going to look into the rules on the whole key thing because, I've seen it done in LA one way, and here in Nashville we do it a different, and I totally understand, but, And then I said, "Look, at this point, I just want to know, is my gun on the plane? Like, I'm about to board. I don't want to have to worry about where my gun is." He goes, "I'm just going to tell you, I personally made sure that gun got into the luggage going onto this plane." And at that point I was like, all right, like, I got to put faith in people. And I got on the plane, we got back home, and sure enough, my gun showed up, and I opened it up. There was the inspection notice inside. They appeared to be pretty gentle with my stuff. It looked just as if I had packed it, so no harm, no foul there. So all in all, any number of things along the way, and in fact, it was probably close to worst case scenario that, like, any one of those would have been like a worst case scenario that maybe somebody expects to have when they're flying. I just happened to get them all stacked up in a row. So that was just a super fun flight back yesterday. And, just letting you guys know, like, best laid plans fall apart sometimes. What's the lesson out of this? Make sure that any gun parts, that's barrels, that's actions, that's triggers, that's bolts, that's anything except optics, as far as they'll tell me, because I know people transport optics, so I know that optics aren't covered. But any other part of the gun, do your due diligence. If you're at a match or you're traveling or you're hunting or you're doing whatever you're doing, make sure even the littlest things, your triggers, your bolts, anything that can be construed as a firearm, end up in your checked baggage properly. And, that's on me. That was my mistake. They didn't have to handle it the way that they did. I'd like to think that me remaining calm, them being cool about it, made for a perfect storm of, resolving it in a good way. I definitely could see where this could go really badly, though. Maybe somebody's been drinking a little bit. Maybe they're just hot tempered. Like, you never know. And it doesn't take much for something like this to ruin an entire day, trip, or flight. So there you go. There's one of my less than perfect stories in my life. So have a good one. Talk to you later.